As we continue this hour, I have the opportunity and the privilege to introduce you to yet another community leader, an organization that's actually been supporting Panorama India, I would say, probably about, I don't even know the number, maybe 14 years. I'm going to get them to confirm it when they come on. But why it's important is, again, it's another organization that's been supporting us as a nonprofit organization. They're also somebody that helps us to stay intact as a nonprofit. They are actually the accounting firm that we work with. So here's an amazing reason I want to introduce you to. Not only do they help us keep everything running smoothly, but they also support us as a sponsor, which is a really important thing to share. So with privilege, I'd like to introduce the Kotamarti Group. And I'd like to invite Mr. Vijay Shastri, Senior Kotamarti, and Junior is Ashwin Kotamarti. If I can have Vijayji and Ashwinji on stage. Thank you so much. And we'll get you both. Oh, you have a mic. Perfect, Ashwin. I'd like the opportunity first to tell you a little bit about who they are. So Vijay Shastriji is the CEO and founder of Kotamarti Group. He's FCA from India, started his practice in Canada over 20 years. He's CPA in Canada and US and Kenya. We discovered that today. Why? Because I used to live in Kenya as well. So it's a small world. And there's a lot of Indians from Kenya here. Actually, there's a lot of people from Kenya that actually live here. So it's a nice thing for them to know as well. And then I'd like to introduce you to Ashwin Kotamarti. He's the Chartered Professional Accountant, CPA, CA, based out of Toronto. Ashwin is also a licensed public accountant, LPA, and a director of the Kotamarti Group, CPAs and Professional Corporation. Kotamarti Group operates as a professional accounting firm providing assurance and tax services along with other advisory, bookkeeping, and accounting services. The boutique accounting firm also provides cross-border taxation services from medium to large organizations in Canada and in the United States. So welcome Ashwin and welcome Shastriji.
Thank you so much, Sumeeta. Very nice to be here.
Good afternoon to everyone. It's a pleasure being here with Panorama India.
Thank you so much. And I am sure you guys have heard the name because they're an institution actually for a very long time established in our community. I don't think there's a community organization that's established here who hasn't worked with them as well. And why that's important to share is because, yes, there's the business aspect of, what they do and they support, but they also support the community and nonprofits. And that's a really important aspect as well. Like we said, not only do they help us behind the scenes to make sure everything runs smoothly, but the minute we said to them we're doing an event or whatever what we're doing, they step up as a sponsor as well. And Ashwin, I want to ask you, and of course Vijayji, where this love and passion comes from for supporting community initiatives such as this.
Right. So thanks. It's a great question. I think it comes from my dad. Like you had mentioned, he started the practice over 20 years ago, but he's very community driven.
Yes.
He sort of passed that on to myself, my brother. We're, in whichever way possible. I think it's very important not only to look at your business side of things, but also help the community as much as possible. And so we're very, very glad to be a sponsor for Panorama India, creating this wonderful event.
So Shastriji, you've been doing this for a very long time. You've been in this community. This community is changing a lot. Us as a city is changing a lot. What would you like to share about, how the community is changing, all the newcomers that are coming? Is there advice that you have for them as they're first coming into this country?
Thank you very much for asking that important question. I always have believed that we should give to the community. And apart from, of course, not-for-profit organizations, we have many temples, gurdwaras, and others also as our clients, and we do our best by giving. And Ashwin has, I think, learned the humbleness. He hasn't mentioned about his wife, who's also a CPA with the Kotamarti Group, and who also contributes to his being contributing towards the community. My advice to the new immigrants who are coming over to Canada is Canada is a great country. Please come here, contribute your best to the country, and the country will definitely communicate to you and also contribute to you. I wish you all the best, and be open when you come and serve with diligence and true givingness to this country, especially to organizations like Panorama India who do such a great selfless job. Thanks to you and your whole board who puts an excellent, and of course the Consul General office who does, and of course Apurva ji too.
Yes, and this is such a small world. Like I mentioned, Shastriji is actually very known in the community. I don't think there's someone who does business for a long time. I discovered today he actually knew my dad. I had no idea. He knows my brother who had no idea. I mean, it's just such a small world that we live in. We're so connected. But I think what's really important is what you guys do as a business as well. You have served, like you mentioned, gurdwaras, mandirs, but there's a lot of people that have been tied to you for a very long time. Is there any accounting advice that you can give? Is there services that you can share that you can, I know there's established businesses. I know pandemic has changed the way people do business. I know their needs are changing, and especially when it comes to, accounting and finance and how they're doing business. What can you share today?
Sure. So with not-for-profits, there's always, especially over this, the last couple of years, the government, both federally as well as provincially, has been very, very helpful in terms of providing as many grants, loans, or subsidies that they can, both to for-profit as well as not-for-profit organizations, especially not-for-profit organizations such as Panorama India, or even just organizations that couldn't, typically hold events like in temples or gurdwaras, where they've seen a significant decline in people coming through. There's always been help that the government has provided. So from that perspective, what I could say from an accounting advice, there's so many, it really depends on the situation itself. But it's important to keep up with your records, because when the government in this particular situation comes up with providing loans or subsidies for that matter, your records need to be up to date so that you're providing them with the information so that they can give you the loans and grants. And there's a lot of them available to all sorts of organizations, and the financial statements, preparing them is what we can help with, making sure that the applications are filed on time and correctly with all the information provided. And so that's something that we do. As you had also mentioned that we're licensed public accountants, so we're also auditors. So we audit a lot of these organizations.
Thank God for that. Thank you.
and whether it's HST rebates for organizations that deserve that can apply for them, we help them with that. Charities with helping with their filing with the CRA. That's just a few things, but there's a lot of services that we can provide. Basically anything you could think of a public accounting firm to be able to provide us services, we pretty much do it, or we would have resources that can get it done for you.
And since I have you on stage, I'm going to pick your brain for one more thing, because I'm also a small business owner. And I know as small business, the last 2 years have been, and I'm a small business also on the, let's just say, on the restaurant side as well. I have 2 businesses, but certain industries have been hit even harder than other industries. I know many small businesses are starting to restart back up. So what advice can you give people? Because I think, between loans and funding and grants, there's all kinds of things that were coming through. I think there's a lot of people that are very confused. I know I've heard this a lot from small business. I deal with a lot of other small business owners. I think they're overwhelmed with the information that's coming their way right now. I don't think they fully understand the repercussions of what they need to do. What advice can you give somebody? What services can you help them with that you'd like to share today?
Sure. So, as I mentioned, definitely getting your records up to date is important. But now that, if, for example, if you find yourself in a situation where you've got these loans that you need to pay back to the government, we can help with providing some form of cash flow projections to look at the future and see how well, some setting goals and plans so that those loans can be paid back on a timely basis with the minimal interest that you would have to incur as an organization. One thing I'm not sure if a lot of people know about, but the CEBA loan, which is the Canada Emergency Business Account, was supposed to be paid back, at least a repayable portion, by the end of this year, but that got moved by the government at the end of next year. So that's definitely something good on the government's side of things, to give people that extra time to pay it back before it converts into a term loan. So in terms of assistance, like I said, we can do cash flow projections. We can help you with planning out your finances, but also looking at your records right now to see how well we can grow the business from a consulting advisory perspective, which is where my dad, with his years and years of experience, can come in and help. And I'm sure he'd like to say something.
Yes, I'd love if Shastriji could say something. Yes, please.
I would just like to say that we also love giving, like I've said earlier, and any not-for-profit and any organization that needs our support, we are always there to support them in every good cause, like the way you do it.
Thank you. I think that's important to know, because one thing that has been amazing in the last 2 years to see is how many nonprofit and community-based organizations that have actually come up to help the needs of the individuals that are doing. I love that. I think that's amazing. I know it's a lot of work to get established to help, but there's many, many that have come up, and all because they were seeing a need, they were trying to help, and they were doing what they could. So I do highly recommend. I know I can tell you from personal experience, we've had the chance to work with them, and they truly are responsive. They help navigate. They help you make sure that you're doing what's correct in the right way. And more importantly, I want to thank you for your community service. I know we're not the only service that you do. I know, Vijayji, you've been supporting this community for a very long time. Ashwin, it's such a pleasure to work with you all the time. And I love that the generations are coming in. We get to work with Ashwin's wife as well. So we have the whole family. It's fantastic. So I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you to you. Every time we have an event, anything that we do, you've literally, it's even a phone call. I think it's even a text sometimes to say, we're there, whatever you need, you tell us. And they actually give us financial support. That's really important for us, for others to know that as well. So not only do we, they support us in other ways, but they actually provide us financial support to be able to deliver free events such as this. So Ashwinji and Shastriji, I want to thank you both for being here. If there's anything you'd like to say in closing?
No, well, I mean, I would like to also say thank you to Panorama India and yourself, your whole team, your whole board, to coming up with these wonderful events. I think it's very important, being here in Canada, to have that connection to India. My daughter, Arya, she's like 3.5 years old. This morning she was listening to or watching the program from home, and, singing to the national anthem of Canada, and I was trying to get her to sing to the Indian anthem as well. So it's good to have that sort of connection, and I think it's great. And thank you for having us here, and we truly appreciate being sponsors. Same thing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, both of you.